Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Premier League Nightclub podcast. My name is Damon, and with me, I have absolutely no one because I am in self-isolation for not specific reasons, just by, law. But on the other end of my computer, on my microphone right now, I have Woody. Woody, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. How are you? Feels so weird. I'm staring at you on a FaceTime chat at the moment, but mate, we're still recording the pod.
Yeah, people listening, hopefully, sounds like we're not miles and miles away from each other, but we realistically are. And as you said, it's a bizarre feeling. We've never done this before, but so I think it's working well. So, of course, it's just you and me.
Hopefully, the sound quality comes up the same as well. But I tell you what, Damo, I'm a little bit scared because you do some dirty things behind your web camera, and I don't really want you to do the same to me.
Don't you worry, Woody. It is just you and me today, and we've probably seen one of the more, I always say it's been an exciting week in football and all that sort of stuff and try to hype it up, but let's be honest, we've probably never seen this before in our lifetimes.
Oh, it's so strange. And I tell you what, just the rapid rate at which this is accelerated has absolutely taken the world by storm. I think us by storm as well. We just didn't expect it to accelerate as much as it did. Like 1 week it was just the virus, isolated over in Asia or in China. Then the next week, the world's gone into meltdown, stock markets are crashing, and then the third week we've gone into isolation. So who knows where we're going to be next week.
Yeah, well, of course, anyone listening, hopefully you are at home. Make sure you stay in home because even if it can't affect you, or if you're at an age where you're reasonably safe, you can affect others. So if you're listening, I hope you're listening from home or at least in a car where you're not, giving yourself a chance to be infected and infect others. But Woody, this is the first of a new thing we're doing. So do you just want to explain to the people that this isn't really a running of the pod? It's a whole new thing for the nightclub, isn't it?
Yeah, completely different. And the thing is, we sort of figured out until April 30th, which is when the new due date is for the EPL to return, hopefully, touch wood, we've got 6 weeks. So we decided we can't do a normal pod without games. So with these 6 weeks, let's do 6 themed episodes and take it from there and see what sort of response we get from our listeners. And from that, we'll be changing the theme of the episode every week. And so the first one, Nightclub Mini, Episode 1, Young Guns. So Key and Damo, we're going to be talking Young Guns, everything about them, and picking our Young Gun under 22 XI this episode. And I think we'll decide at the end of the ep what theme's going to be for the next episode.
Yeah, for sure. I think we got lots to talk to about in terms of especially young English talent. In our research, Woody, we found that a lot of the media hype, and the stats to back it up. To be honest, lots of good young English players. So lots to talk about that. Just in general, we're talking about future stars, the young guns. I've got a few for you, Woody, just to get the vibe going, get us moving.
Hit me.
The first one, Lazar Markovic. This one, I really like this one. This one was a bit of a flop. In fact, probably most of them we're going to be talking about at the start were flops. So Lazar Markovic signed for Liverpool when he was 20 years old, just after Liverpool won the league, actually, or almost won the league, I should say. And he stunk it up. 4 loan spells until 2019 where he signed for Fulham and he was still shit. Now he's back at Partizan in Serbia where he started his career and he's still only 26 today. So who knows what could happen for Markovic, but geez, his time in England was just a real flop, safe to say.
It was poo. It was absolute poo. And there was so much hype around him as well. Another guy that actually springs to mind, and I just come to the top of my head, is Federico Macheda for Manchester United. He scored an absolute iconic goal versus Villa in his debut, which I'm pretty sure almost won United the league back in 2011 maybe.
Yep.
And then after that, just absolutely flopped and did not reach any potential compared to what he was hyped after that goal as well. But we've seen some flops and a half in terms of young guns in the Premier League, haven't we?
Yeah, we've also seen a few win some stuff but leave the league a little bit early. So I look at Oscar from Chelsea. I remember his debut in the Champions League where he smashed in 2 against Juventus in the group stage, and it was just unbelievable. It was one of the great debuts from a Chelsea player you've seen. He went on to win a Europa League, 2 Premier League titles, but the thing that gets me, he's still only 28 today, and he's been in China for a while now, and he's even spoken about how, he thought about his family and making the most of the opportunity of being a professional player, and let's be honest, cashing in, rather than going to a World Cup and going to Copa America and all those sort of competitions. So, his career, in a way, ended before it even really started. And no disrespect to the Chinese league, but it's not quite the Premier League. So you get what I'm saying here, Woody.
Yeah, mate. What about Ben Arthur? I reckon he was one that you could have seen pissing off to China. But, mate, he was... The streets will never forget Ben Arthur at Newcastle. We'll never forget him. He was a freak in nature. I swear he was in the Premier League for like 5 years as well. All I remember is at the end of his Newcastle spell, he spent, I think, 1 season on loan with the Wolves, and that was a flop as well. And then he flicked off to PSG out of nowhere, like PSG came calling. But yeah, he was another young gun that sort of like was always in and out of. Oh,
he had his flair, so much flair.
Had his flair, but just never clicked off with the manager of his team. Like I think it was down to I think it got put down by a lot of pundits down to attitude issues and stuff as well. But man, he was one that could have been a superstar and just sort of flopped, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And one more flop for the episode is Adnan Januzaj, and this guy absolutely flashed onto the scene for Man United. Probably the only shining light in that David Moyes season. Then Louis van Gaal and Mourinho came along, and he really struggled. He had failed loan spells at Dortmund and Sunderland. But now he's at Real Sociedad, and you wouldn't say he's a bad player, but he never really hit the heights that people thought he would, especially in the youth for Man United. There was lots of talk around him. It was even given Ryan Giggs as number 11 for a little bit there as well. But Adnan Januzaj, although not a failed career, certainly a failed Premier League career.
All right, mate, 100%.
100%, yeah. Woody, we pretty much, like, when we were talking these nightclub minis and these themes, we decided that we needed to have probably still 1 or 2 segments, you know what I mean? Like to break up the episode rather than just a mini episode talking absolute trash. So I posed a question to you and said, would you come to me the day we record with your favourite Premier League debut from the last decade or so? And what have you come up with?
Mate, I have to go back to Michu. In 2012, it was probably the season that I first started really
speaking of the streets not forgetting.
Mate, this man was a freak of nature. And I reckon it was this performance alone that got him a call up to the Spanish national team. Anyway, 2 goals and assists on his Swansea debut. It was a 5-0 demolition of QPR opening weekend, the 2012-13 season, I'm pretty sure. And, mate, it was like an absolute lackluster signing for Swansea at the time. I'm pretty sure Gylfi Sigurdsson just went back to Germany or back to Hoffenheim, I think, and Swansea were a bit of a nothing, and Michu came in for 16 mil. Anyway, out of nowhere, 2 goals and assists. All I remember as a young kid watching this absolute no one, two right foot curlers, left foot curlers. One was bottom right bins, the other was top left bins, and he just did the iconic flick of the wrist, like this is mental celebration.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I remember he got a standing ovation in the highlights that I watched. The EPL was blowing up for this one season wonder. He just got a standing ovation from the away fans at QPR, and that was something I just never forget. First watching the league and just seeing this guy absolutely light it up. Pretty sure he scored like 26 goals or something for Swansea that season in 42 appearances. But yeah, mate, that was memorable. So Damo,
he lit it up.
Yeah, who's your best debut, young gun?
Mine is probably a little bit more iconic than Michu, and I know that's big to say, but I've gone with someone who came to the Premier League at the age of 23, a small Argentine striker who joined Manchester City from Atletico Madrid, and much was made of this guy because he's the son-in-law of the great Diego Maradona. Of course, I'm talking Sergio Aguero here, and his debut was off the bench against Swansea, funny enough, Woody. At home in the league. Aguero came on 2 minutes after City had actually gone 1-0 up. But that game was probably one of those typical ones where, well, let's be honest, City probably the top 2 teams in the league at the time, maybe top 3. And it was one of those ones where Swansea were parking the bus, but were looking dangerous on the counter. And so City at 1-0 up, the game was certainly not done and dusted. Aguero came on. 2 minutes after coming on, a tap in from Richards at the far post gave Aguero his first ever Premier League goal. And then a magical assist about 10 minutes later to David Silva, who he basically clipped the ball over the keeper. The ball's about to go out for a goal kick. He flicked it back over his head to Silva, who smashed it in to make it 3-0. And then Aguero, a long-range strike in the 90th minute to make it 4-0. So he had 2 goals and an assist in his Premier League debut in about half an hour. And it wasn't so much the performance, but I've probably seen better midfield performances, better, if you know what I'm talking about here, Woody. But I felt for 30 minutes, that guy made the Premier League look like a joke. He made it look easy. And obviously we now know what Aguero's gone on to achieve. So, I thought just for 30 minutes, I watched a guy who you had no doubt about the fact that this wasn't going to be a one-season wonder thing or even a 30-minute wonder thing. This guy was here to stay. So, yeah, that was the birth of Sergio Aguero, and I'll always remember that one.
Mate, I probably missed the mark a bit. I didn't really go young gun, did I? Just did the best debut.
I think Michu would have been about 25, 26 at the time, but that's all right. That's all right.
Well, if I'm going young gun, I have to go Anthony Martial when he came on against Liverpool and sent Skirtle packing. I think shattered his ankles and flicked one in front of the Stretford end. So that was pretty large as well. But Damo, let's move on a bit from the best debut, which I've clearly missed the mark of, and we'll go on to our under 22 team of the season, which has sort of come about because we realised if we went under 23 team of the season, it'd basically be our team of the season anyway.
Yeah, half the league qualify for that team. It's ridiculous.
Yes. So we've gone down to under 22s, and we'll start off. Y'all ready for this? So in goalkeeper, we've got the one and only big boy Henderson. And he was in our team of the season, of course. Can't go past him. 10 clean sheets. Second in the league. And Damo, do you want to kick us off with our defensive back four?
Well, not surprisingly, we've gone Alexander-Arnold. He's only 21 years of age. And we say it, all the time, we update his assists. But yes, 12 assists, just absolutely killing it. Best right back in the world, can't go past him. Left back was a little bit more of a tougher decision, but I think what he's been able to deliver out of position by trade a left winger, Bukayo Saka for Arsenal. 3 assists so far this season, but it's just been his overall work and how he's lifted this Arsenal team probably in the new year when they were on their knees at the when Arteta came along. So Saka, the English, not international yet, but potentially soon at left back.
Mate, just a quick note on Saka. He's absolutely come in and been Arsenal's man at the back four. We talked about his attacking brilliance, and hopefully we can see him in the England come. I think it'll be Euros 2021 now, so we give him the extra year to mature. Yeah, he's just been an absolute, plug in defence for Arsenal, and in considering what was going to look like a pretty grim situation at left back. So yeah, he's been an absolute shining light for them so far. Yeah, for sure. And in centre back, we've got 2 English players again, Fikayo Tomori and Joe Gomez. Now, Joe Gomez was an Fikayo Tomori.
Joe Gomez, absolute lock. 19 appearances, 19 wins, 10 clean sheets. The guy's been a monster. He's won about 70% of his duels all year. When you got Van Dijk next to you, there's no better central defender to learn off in the league at the moment. So he was a lock. But Tomori, Woody, we studied for a while who we could have at centre-back, and there really wasn't much to pick from, to be honest. No disrespect to Tomori, but let's be honest, he's only played 15 games, scored that wonder goal against Wolves, but there really was no other option. Yeah,
I think that wonder goal was our goal of the week at the time before it flicked over to the Nightclub newsflash. But yeah, we struggled because I think probably all the young centre-backs, apart from Joe Gomez, that really get consistent amount of time, are either 23, 24, or 25. Instantly, I look at Issa Diop from West Ham as well. And he's just turned 24, I think. So a lot of them just miss out, which is really unfortunate. And it sort of leads the way for Tomori to be that second centre-back behind, next to Joe Gomez, as I say. And really, that's just through lack of competition, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think a few other 24-year-olds, Woody, like Mason Holgate from Everton. Obviously, he's had a big resurgence under Ancelotti. So he's, of course, 23 years old. We look at Soyuncu from Leicester, 23 years old. I think Soyuncu would have been an absolute lock next to Joe Gomez if we did 23-year-olds. So yeah, it's a tough gig in this under-22s team, but centre back. If you're a good centre back and you're under 22 in the Premier League at the moment, you're a lock.
Yeah, come knocking, mate.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the midfield. And finally, we don't have an Englishman, Woody.
Yes. Well, we start off with Yuri Tielemans, which, Damo, I was a bit disappointed because I wanted Declan Rice in this midfield. And you said, nah, piss off, Woody. We have to have Tielemans, and we can't remove the other two, which, fair enough. But Declan Rice was very, very stiff to miss out on this one. So we've gone for Tielemans, the Belgian boy. 3 goals, 5 assists. And he only has the only person with more passes under 20 or 22 years or under is Alexander Arnold. So he has 44.3 per game, young Tielemans does. And he's been a huge man for Leicester so far in the engine room. And Damo, do you want to kick us off with the other 2 midfield spots?
Yeah, well, Tielemans probably playing the role as the holding midfielder in this one, just behind Todd Cantwell. 6 goals, 2 assists, and there's probably some midfielders around his age or younger that output-wise, probably a little bit more, but I think Cantwell, what he's done in a bottom team all season pretty much has been unbelievable. And as you said, Woody, earlier, the Euro 2021 now gives someone like a Cantwell a little bit more time to cement a spot in that England team, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was on the plane this time next year.
Yeah, for sure, mate. His creativity is off the charts. And another one who has huge creativity as well is young Mason Mount of Frank Lampard's Chelsea, who has 6 goals and 4 assists so far this campaign. He started off like a house on fire, Damo. He sort of tailed off a bit, but I think his spot is very much warranted in this team because, he is probably one of the best young attacking midfielders under 23, even under 25, realistically, in the Premier League. He sort of burst onto the scene so far this season. Out of nowhere, Frank Lampard put him in his starting lineup straight away, and he proved like he was doing bits. As all young players do, they have ups and downs, and Mason Mount is no exception. But however, I think he has been an absolute revelation for Chelsea so far this season. For sure.
Move on to the front 3. On the left, Marcus Rashford, even though he's been injured for about 3 months now, you can't go past his 14 goals and 4 assists. He still has the most goals in our front 3 in this team. He, at times this season, put Man United on his shoulders, so I think you can't go past him. And now, again, that the Euros have been delayed, he probably saves himself a year because, let's be honest, he was probably touch and go whether he was going to make the Euros with that back injury. Woody,
mate,
who is up front for us?
Sorry, Damo, sorry to cut you off. I reckon the England national team would be really chuffed that Euros are actually gone in 2021. Because if you look at the likes of Harry Kane and Rashford, like they were both out or seriously in doubt for the Euros, and now they'll slot straight back into that starting lineup. And no doubt England will make a bigger push than ever. But we'll go on. And the next under 22s player that we've got is Tammy Abraham as well from Frank Lampard's Chelsea's 13 goals, 3 assists. Likewise, he's also tailed off. We've seen the rise of or prominence of Giroud in the Chelsea team recently, but Abraham started the league off, took the league by storm after his huge 26-goal season at Villa last year. However, now he's proven to be Chelsea's best striker, I think, and definitely probably the best striker under 23 or under 22, I should say, in the league. No doubt about that.
For sure. And on the right, we've gone with Richarlison. Again, finally, not an English player. He's had 10 goals and 3 assists, but the big thing for mine is 11 big chances created. And statistically, this stat is actually really hard to get. If you look at the other players, I think Rashford's only created 6, Abraham maybe 5, but Richarlison creating 11. That's pretty much finding a player who's dead on almost a certainty to score. Like, that's how hard it is to get granted these big chances created stats. So 11 for the season is huge, one of the most in the league. And look, prior to Ancelotti's arrival, let's be honest, we were critical of Everton, but him, along with Calvert-Lewin, have risen and probably were the two that stood out even before Ancelotti arrived. So Richarlison at 22 or 21 years of age has to be in this team.
Yeah, and there's a few honourable mentions as well. Like, we've been very stiff to leave out a few people, and it's purely because they were the sheer best in their position that they've sort of been left out. And we look at the likes of Martinelli as well. If he had more games and had a bit more success in the league like he has in the Cups and through the Europa League for Arsenal as well, no doubt he'd be in this team. Likewise with Ismail Sarr, if Watford had been a bit better this season, then no doubt he'd be in this team. Damo, there are a few others as well which we had to unfortunately leave out. Which was really disappointing.
We spoke about Declan Rice already, but I look at Reece James and Wan-Bissaka. Those fullback positions are so hard to break into, so those two guys incredibly unlucky. Mason Greenwood, probably similar to Martinelli, where if he had the same success as he had in Europe thus far, he might have found his way into that team. And of course, Neto from the Wolves showing great potential, but probably just doesn't have the statistical evidence to warrant a place in this team.
I still can't believe Declan Rice hasn't got into this team, Damo.
Mate,
I've put him in, you've taken him out.
You know my opinion on Declan Rice. I think he's incredibly overhyped, but that's, maybe in years to come, we'll listen back to this pod and I'll be the laughingstock of the internet. But Declan Rice, it doesn't do as much for me as he tends to do for other people. So that's just my opinion anyway. All right, yeah, Woody, that was our, nightclub super little mini episode, episode 1. And I thought it went well because, these are little powwow episodes, but this is what we do here at the nightclub. We just pump out content. Yeah,
we do, mate. Pumping out content, and that's when you come to boogie in the nightclub, whether you're virtual reality or you're just in person, no doubt you're going to get a little bit of some special content as well. And I reckon the next 5 eps are going to be really fun for us to sort of pump out because we don't have to focus necessarily on what's happened in the league, but I guess other things surrounding football as well. And Damo, which leads me to my question. What theme should we go for next week on the nightclub mini ep 2?
I think given how much fun I had looking at past transfers of young kids that have come into the league, I spoke about Markovic and a few of the others. I think it'd be unreal if we could do a transfers episode. Just talk about the biggest flops, biggest success stories and anything in between. I reckon the Premier League's seen some unbelievable transfers over the time, and especially in the last 10 years or so. So what do you think about that, Woody?
I love it. So we sticking to the last decade?
Yeah, I think last decade's a good way to do it purely because of the change in monetary value in the transfer market. Do you know what I mean? 10 mil maybe 15 years ago was a lot more than it is today, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like a perfect plan to me. And just something before we kick off, finally, I was noticed a lot of players doing this toilet paper roll challenge. And I don't know if I like it or not really. And the presence on TikTok, I'm not really about it. It's Sammy's sort of area. I don't think it's...
I was going to say...
tickle my fancy.
I was going to say, this whole, TikTok thing, without Sam on this mini-series, one of us has got to pick up the slack and do the weekly rare reference of TikTok. So
piss off, I'm not doing that shit.
So, well, anyway, yeah, TikTok. And one thing I did see, you mentioned the toilet paper, Woody. I know he gets mentioned probably quite a bit on this pod for a bloke who hasn't scored or assisted in a year. But Jesse Lingard posted one where he basically clearly edited it, where it was ricocheting off everything in the house and ended up going in the washing basket. But one thing I did notice was a comment on that Instagram, and I was intrigued. Julia Roberts, American actress.
No.
Commented love heart and he replied with the thumbs up or whatever, as if that was just a casual comment. What's Julia Roberts doing on Jesse Lingard's Instagram? I couldn't think of a more stranger too.
What? That's so weird. Is she an EPL fan?
Well, this is what I was going to say. We've always approached people as potential guests who follow the Premier League, Woody, who might not necessarily be in the industry, but big fans of it. Should we say the day we get Julia Roberts as a guest on the Premier League Nightclub is the day we finally reach the pinnacle? We've reached the summit?
That's pretty big. I reckon that's a good call, though.
Let's
hit us up if
Julia
you've listened to this episode. Let us know if you want us to start a petition where you can sign it to get Julia Roberts on the show. Hopefully we can eventually get her on.
Even if it's for 2 minutes, just
crazy.
to ask her why she commented on Jesse Lingard's Instagram post, to be honest. The first question I'd ask, and arguably the only one. Anyway, I think that's a
jeez.
good way to wrap up, Woody. And of course, speaking of Insta, where can they find us?
You can find us on Insta at Premier League Nightclub. No doubt we'll be still delivering content. And Damo, where can you find us on the Twitter?
At PL Nightclub, and I'll pretty much be posting everything that Woody does on the Instagram, on Twitter, and everything in between, all the breaking news. I'll try to keep up with it. And we don't have a TikTok, and we're not going to get one. But on Facebook, just search us, and we'll be there. So yeah, that's pretty much it, isn't it, Woody?
It is, Damo. And until next week, see you then for transfers. Premier League Nightclub Minis, Episode 2. Thank you very much for booking at the nightclub, and thank you, Damo.
See ya.
See ya.